Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there stood a grand and beautiful palace. This palace was adorned with tall towers and vast gardens, filled with rooms gleaming with gold. The ruler of this palace was a king who had an immense love for clothes. Every morning, he delighted in wearing new clothes and standing in front of the mirror to admire himself. The king's day could not begin without donning a new outfit. His wardrobe was so vast that its end could not be seen, containing hundreds of garments. These clothes were made from the finest materials such as silk, velvet, and satin. The king had an array of outfits in different colors and designs: red, blue, gold, and more. Each day, he wore a different outfit and sought the opinions of his courtiers. "What do you think of today's outfit?" the king would ask, looking at himself in the mirror. "Your Majesty, you look splendid," the courtiers would always reply in unison. The king took great pleasure in these compliments. His love for clothes was known throughout the kingdom. Merchants traveled far and wide to find new fabrics for the king, and everyone strived to meet his refined tastes. One day, two strangers arrived in the kingdom. They claimed to possess extraordinary skills. They gathered a crowd in the main square and captivated everyone's attention with their grand claims. These travelers were dressed in vibrant clothes and spoke with enchanting words. "We can create the most magnificent clothes in the world," they said. "But these clothes will be invisible to anyone who is foolish or unfit for their position." This rumor quickly spread throughout the kingdom. People were intrigued by the mysterious clothes and eagerly discussed them. Eventually, the news reached the king's ears. He was very curious and decided to invite the strangers to the palace. "Make me the most beautiful and unique outfit," the king commanded the two travelers. The travelers were thrilled with the king's request and received a large sum of gold and fine silk. They set up a workshop and began to work immediately. However, in reality, they were doing nothing at all. They pretended to weave and sew at empty looms. As time passed, the king grew increasingly curious. "I must check on the progress of the clothes," thought the king. So, he sent his first minister to inspect the work. When the first minister arrived at the workshop, he saw nothing. But he didn't want to appear foolish, so he pretended to see the clothes. "What exquisite fabric!" the first minister exclaimed. "His Majesty will be delighted." The minister returned to the palace and reported to the king. The king was pleased with the minister's words but still wanted to see the clothes himself. He sent a second minister to the workshop. The second minister had the same experience, seeing nothing but pretending otherwise. "Truly magnificent," the second minister also exclaimed. "His Majesty will look splendid in these clothes." The king was pleased with both ministers' reports, but decided he needed to see the clothes himself. He went to the workshop with the two ministers. However, he too saw nothing. The king was shocked but did not want to admit his foolishness. "Indeed, magnificent," the king said. "I shall wear these clothes in tomorrow's grand parade." The king's orders led to the kingdom preparing for a grand parade. Everyone in the kingdom gathered on the streets to see the king's new clothes. The king, feeling very proud, decided to wear his new clothes. He stood in front of the mirror and mimicked the actions of putting on the invisible garments. Finally, the day of the parade arrived. The king walked through the streets wearing nothing at all. At first, people were stunned, but no one wanted to appear foolish. "How splendid you look, Your Majesty!" the people shouted. But suddenly, a small child spoke up. "But the king is not wearing any clothes." At that moment, everyone fell silent. The child's words spread, and soon everyone acknowledged that the king was indeed naked. The king's face turned red, but he continued to walk with dignity, completing the parade. After the parade, the king realized how foolish he had been. He reflected on his vanity and arrogance and decided to become a true king for his people. He no longer obsessed over clothes but instead dedicated himself to the kingdom's development and the happiness of his subjects. Under his rule, the kingdom prospered and enjoyed peace.